We are here to talk with the Sea Lighting Foundation, and we have three members of the Sea Lighting, of the three founders of the Sea Lighting Foundation with us, as well as one artist recipient, a beneficiary of the Sea Lighting Foundation, and we also have award-winning designer Clint Ramos, who is not a part of it, but is a supporter and a very, very slightly older immigrant artist, to interview them and talk to them about their experience. I am now going to tell you all about them in no particular order. Kimie Nishikawa is a Japanese scenic designer based in NYC, if you want to wave. She moved to the United States with her family at the age of 2, growing up here until the age of 10. After graduating from Sophia University in Tokyo with a degree in the English language, she pursued a career in theater that first started out as an after-school activity in college. Along with Chasi and Rodrigo Muñoz, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, Kimie is one of the co-founders of the Sea Lighting Foundation, a grassroots organization committed to supporting immigrant theater artists during the global pandemic. In the spirit of getting to everything, I'm not sure I'm going to list everyone's credits, but Kimie has worked a great deal in New York and around the country. Highlights being the headlands for LCT3, Tiny Beautiful Things for Long Wharf Theater. She's an MFA from Tisch School of the Arts in Design for Stage and Film, and her website, I'm going to put it into the chat for people to check her out, and as well as her Instagram, because it's 2020, folks. In no particular order, Chasi is from Manila, Philippines. Off-Broadway credits include 1 and 2 at Signature Theater, What to Send Up When It Goes Down, Art NY. Other shows include The Maturation of an Inconvenient Negro at Cherry Lane, Nora at the Juilliard School, Houseplant at New York Theater Workshop Next Door, and On the Grounds of Belonging at Long Wharf Theater. Upcoming late night snacks for bearded ladies. Chasi has exhibited her works at the Prague Quadrennial 2019. Training is MFA at NYU Tisch. And I am putting Cha's information into the chat right there. And we will be also posting links to the Sea Lighting Foundation as we go. Is everyone still with me? Am I making sense? Great, thank you for the nods. Rodrigo Muñoz, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, is a New York-based costume designer from Mexico City, graduated from the National School of Theater and Arts in Mexico, BA in set design, and has an MFA from, as well, Tisch School of the Arts, Design for Stage and Film. Recent credits in the United States include The Jazz Singer, Abrams Art Center, directed by Joshua William Gelb, Tobias, directed by Arpita Mukherjee as part of the 2020 WP Pipeline Festival, Hamlet, directed by Mark Wayne Davey for NYU Grad Acting, and Cracked, directed by Lin K. Ayung. Rodrigo is one of the co-founders of the Sea Lighting Foundation, a grassroots organization committed to supporting immigrant theater artists. I'm going to put Rodrigo's information in the chat. And last, only alphabetically, is Lena Yunez, is a Palestinian Lebanese visual designer based in New York. She is on a constant quest for story-centered collaborations and exploring narratives while showcasing process. She creates worlds with one eye shut and an index finger as her wand. In plays, operas, film, and dance, she controls traffic, maps the skies, imagines the birds, and inhabits the world. Lena has explored puppetry and stop-motion animation in the Gulf, Eastern Europe, the Middle East, and South America. Her work is about freezing moments, replaying them, changing scenarios, playing out consequences, and then repeating. Impossible things happen in an instant, objects vanish, come to life, and are set off again in motion. Lena is an Imagineer with a great love and a weakness, soap bubbles. So I am now going to hand it to, for the first, how this salon will work is Kimie, Rodrigo, and Cha will give a short presentation on what the Sea Lighting Foundation is. And then we will bring in Clint Ramos, who I'll give a little intro to, who will then lead them in conversation, as well as Lena, who is one of the many recipients of the Sea Lighting Foundation. So with that, I think I will just hand it off to Cha, Kimie, and Rodrigo to tell us what the Sea Lighting Foundation is about. Feel free to unmute yourselves.
Hi, everyone.
Oh.
Cha?
I'm here.
Okay, great.
I just wanna pause for a moment and say thank you to everyone who are here right now. This means so much to us, and I can't even believe that Clint Ramos is gonna be moderating this salon. And Edward, Kate, thank you so much, and the rest of the Wingspace family. Yeah, this means so much to us, for us. Yeah. And we have a present PowerPoint.
Can you all see my screen? Is that happening?
If it's black,
then
yes.
Yeah.
Great, thank you, thank you.
While we're waiting.
Wait, it's on.
Yeah, Kimie, for some reason, would you mind trying to stop sharing and then sharing again? For some reason, it is a black, like a blank screen that's happening.
Okay.
We got this.
How's that?
Yeah, holding technology with grace. Thank you.
And also, this is our first PowerPoint presentation, so bear with us, you know.
It is.
Woo!
All right.
I'm so nervous. We're in a safe space. Okay. Sea Lighting Foundation. Kimie and Rodrigo, how did we start? Who are we?
We're a grassroots fundraiser committed to supporting immigrant theater artists during the global pandemic. We started in mid-May, which was really just a GoFundMe that Cha suddenly started without telling anyone. And she listed about 30 people in the GoFundMe co-organizer list. And I got that email and I just ran with it. She realized that co-organizers don't work that way. So she kept deleting the names and my name was still there. And that's kind of how we started. So we're very DIY. We started the GoFundMe, which turned out to be a great success. With the help of the theater community and family, we raised $32K from there and then kept going. So, and our goal now is to keep on giving $500 to our 60 registered theater artists until the end of this year. So a sustainable micro grant.
And yeah, to add on to that, I think it's one of those things where it's like, oh, our shows, at least for my experience, most of my shows have been postponed at that time. We're talking about the start of, I think, end of March already. Like the emails are coming in my inbox saying, oh, your future show, this show has been postponed. So I was really thinking about how to help people, and by helping, you know, as you all know, we're trained designers. We're not trained as fundraisers. So up until now, it's like we're still learning so much on how to make this possible. And also, I got really inspired by Wingspace because you're doing the $500 micro grant as well. And we're really thankful for that because we're not, you know, when you look it up on Google, Artist Relief Fund, there's only so much you can see for designers, particularly for theater, particularly for O1 visa holders. So, you know, for me, I applied for Wingspace and I applied for Artist Relief Fund, and the rest I didn't qualify because I graduated 2017, so that means I'm only in the business for 3 years, and some applications you have to be in minimum of 5 years to, so the list goes on and on for applications. And so yeah, that's how we started. And I believe in Kimie and Rodrigo, and the three of us up until now, we're blindly looking forward. It's like climbing up a staircase where every time you do something, oh, this is how we do it, I guess. Because we're trained to collaborate, we're trained to tell stories, but we don't know what we're doing up until now, is what I'm trying to say. But thank you.
Yeah.
And I also add, Cha, like when you decided to create this Lighting Foundation was also because of the lack of support that there was out there for immigrant artists. Like we didn't, like, especially in my case, I graduated in 2019. And when COVID hit, it was like mostly at the beginning of my OPT. And I didn't know how restrained my situation in the United States was until COVID hit. Like you cannot get on it. Well, you can, well, in my case, like it's a risk to get unemployment. You cannot get all of these like benefits that everyone else is getting. So like the resources for us were very limited during these like really hard times. And of course, like none of us had any single job.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
I think a big motivation for us was that our friends were really leaving. When you use the word immigrant, it's such an abstract word. Like, I don't know what everybody imagines, but for us, it was like our classmates are having to leave, our friends are having to leave. We were having to help them clear out their apartments because they had to leave within that week or something, so it was a very real thing for us, and we wanted to help.
And to add on to that, as we go through the presentation for tonight and really talk about in depth what it means, you know what? Why don't we just go to the next slide?
Okay.
Since this presentation is going really smoothly. So, what is an OPT?
Totally.
Lesson number 1, because there's a lot of definition for immigrants. So we believe that if we share with you some facts, then we're all going to be in the same page on what it means for a designer to be under the OPT visa and what it means for a designer to be an O1 visa. So, Rodrigo, what is an OPT?
Well, I'm not gonna read it. Like I'm just gonna say like for my experience, like what we've discovered. Like the OPT is like a year that you have on when you finish your studies in the United States. You are under an F1 visa, and right after graduation, you need to apply for this work permit that it's called the OPT. That it's the optional practical training. And basically this year that you have, it's like to gain experience like in the United States. So like when you move to your O1, like you can prove that you've been gaining experience and like you are like, how can I say it? Like working continuously in your field in the United States. Because like, sorry, I forgot to mention that because this is really important. Like in the OPT, you cannot work outside your field. Like the OPT is just specifically for you to work in your area of studies. Like in my case, it was theater. So I could not like work at a bar or like a Starbucks or anything. Everything had to be related to theater. And there's like this rule when you're under OPT that I think like it's like a huge problem right now during the pandemic. Like you cannot be unemployed for more than 90 days. Because if you don't continue report jobs, then it can read as like you failed as maintaining your status in the United States. Did I express it good, Cha?
That's right. That's right. That's why it's extra harder now that we're in pandemic, because we cannot prove anything that we are actually working. So then anything right now that comes to an OPT visa holder is really useful. For example, you can What is a good example?
Well, even this panel right now that we're doing, Lina, who's joining us today, she's on her OPT, but like this being at a public panel, she can say it's work. And so there are many ways to help folks on an OPT other than financial aid, and that is one of them.
Yeah,
that's right.
Because like to maintain the status it doesn't necessarily has to be like a paid job. Of course, we want it's better if it's paid, but it's like really like just like keep training yourself before you move to the O1.
Which is why
I'm sorry.
Yeah, to add on to that, the commission done by Movement Theater Company, which was co-curated by Clint Ramos, was really helpful because it's helpful for the applicants, for the visa holders, because that means you can maintain that, oh, you're doing something great in line with your visa, which is like, for me, lighting design. Like with costume designer, it's costume designer. Yeah, so I hope we're clear with that. And the next,
moving on.
Never in a million years I imagine I would be explaining this, just so you know. What is an O1 visa?
Wow, that's a big question.
That's a good question. There are how many types?
We're not going to go through it, you know, it's all there. What we are is they're given to individuals with extraordinary ability or achievement. Thank you. And so it says non-immigrant visa, which is an umbrella term that the United States government uses to basically differentiate us, because there are 4 statuses that you can have in the USCIS immigration system. But that's what we are all on. And again, Cha mentioned earlier, you know, the whole process of applying to grants and such, you know, getting the paperwork, that's all very stressful, especially in this time. And so we wanted to make it as easy as possible. We have no vetting process. People who need help just email us. And the only criteria is that they work in theater, they are on an O1 visa, or on an OPT. So we really just wanted to alleviate everyone from the stress of having to apply to such grants. Going to the next one, that's okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh,
Oof.
a lot of words.
It's
a lot of words.
That's right. Let's. How much does an O1 visa cost? So this is a lot of words and a lot of numbers, but I think what we're learning right now during the pandemic and under the government and under Trump's administration is that, you know, things change really quickly. Like now we have this new increased fee. The standard processing fee used to be $460, and now it's how much?
So yeah, the Homeland Security, they basically said from October 2nd, they're going to raise the fee 53%, which, so now we are looking at about $720 per petition. It used to be $460. And also there's another thing, it says here the premium processing costs $1440. The Trump administration also raised that, but the premium processing, basically, it used to guarantee that we get an answer from the government. It doesn't guarantee approval, but an answer within 2 weeks. And now that has been changed to a month. So, you know, gradually but surely it is getting harder, more time consuming, more expensive to get this visa. And it's just a strain, and that's not even including the lawyer fees.
That's right. I was gonna say, this is just the standard processing fee. We're not yet even talking about hiring a lawyer. We're not yet even talking about like some other fees like IATSE fees and you know, it just goes on and on. So yeah, I think we can move to the next slide. Kimie, you're better at explaining this.
Me?
Yeah.
Well,
why is it a risk to apply for unemployment?
Right. So this, I mean, as it says, it really is a catch-22 situation.
Right.
We as freelancers, in a way, it's hard for the government to track if we are unemployed or not. And similarly to the OPT visa, on an O1 visa, we cannot be unemployed for 60 days. And so apparently, again, this is hard because we talked to many lawyers and they just could not give an answer. Apparently, we might be okay for applying for unemployment for those 60 days, right? But then if we tell the government that we are unemployed, that's when the countdown starts. So that's why we say a risk. It's not as if we can't apply for unemployment. It's just that if we do, the countdown starts. And at the end of those 60 days, we have 3 options. We leave the country. We have already started another petition for a different visa, or we are employed. And so during times now where, again, we can only work in the field that we obtained the visa for. So in my case, theater design. And so that's really why it's a risk and why we decided to, this is really the main reason why we decided to create the Sea Lighting Foundation. So how far can we hold off applying for unemployment? Yeah, is that good, Cha?
Yeah, very good.
Okay, so some good news.
Some good news
so far. Yes, so 32K from GoFundMe. We made a website that has raised 43K so far, and then through Broadway Cares, which Ars Nova has been extremely helpful and so supportive through this. They are our fiscal sponsor, and through them, Broadway Cares reached out to us and they donated 30K, which was very moving. And we have helped 72 artists so far. We have been giving monthly grants for June, July, and August for 63 artists. They're part of the monthly donation. We still have 15 artists on the waiting list. And we're trying to raise money as much as we can. And it continues.
Yeah, and so that means 5K below, me and Kimie take care of it, and then 5K above donations wise, it's Ars Nova who will take care of it. So we're really thankful also for Ars Nova for helping us on this. Yeah, it's good news.
Good news.
That's literally the next slide. Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, but that's us. We've, the world is kind of shifting toward rebuilding. A little bit of normalcy is seen, but we are still very much in emergency mode. So we would really appreciate if you could help spread the word. Spread the word to people who have the means to give, and keep sharing, please. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you for explaining to the audience what the Sea Lighting Foundation is. We'd like to go more in depth and find out more about all of you, how you started this, your experience. And experience has showed us that groups are no good at interviewing themselves. So we brainstormed, and graciously Clint Ramos has decided to join us, to join in conversation with them. Clint Ramos is the recipient of the Tony Award for Best Costume Design for a Play, the first person of color to win in this category. He is also a 3-time Tony nominee. He is the recipient of the Ani Ing Dangal Presidential Medal for the Arts from the President of the Philippines. He received this honor twice. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. This year, he designed the costume design of the critical, I'm sorry, my bio got mangled here. Lingua Franca by Isabel Sandoval. It premiered at the Venice Film Festival, which chronicled the daily struggles of an undocumented Filipina trans woman in New York, now out on Netflix. And his costume design for Respect, the Aretha Franklin biopic starring Jennifer Hudson for MGM, will be on the big screen in the winter. He has designed sets and or costumes for over 200 productions in theater, opera, dance, and film. Mr. Ramos is a professor of design and head of design and production at Fordham University. He is also on the advisory board of the American Theater Wing. He has an MFA in design for stage and film from New York University, where he attended on the Gary Calkin Memorial Scholarship. He was born and raised in the Philippines. He lives in New York with his husband and daughter. And before I hand it off to Clint, whose information I am putting in the chat, I just also wanted to say, I did introduce her at the beginning, but Lena Yunez is also here. So we have the perspective of someone who is purely a recipient of the Sea Lining Foundation, so not one of the founders. So we're in the opinions of the founders, someone who has gone through the immigration process before, and someone who's a beneficiary of the Sea Lining Foundation. And with that, at long last, I will hand it off to you, Clint, please.
Thanks, Edward. Hi, everyone. Thank you for that presentation. I think I kind of just want to sort of like contextualize that a little bit in a simpler way, you know, what these amazing young designers just did. Basically, so here's the deal, right? In order to keep your immigration status active and legal, you cannot have a lapse in employment for more than, is it 60 days? 60 days, right? And on top of that, and so all of that came into play when COVID started, because of course, all of us, regardless if we were immigrant or not, didn't have work, right? So that's the one thing, right? The second thing is that because of their immigration status, they're actually not qualified for most of the federal and state aids. So this puts them both in a legal immigration predicament and also in a financial predicament. So this is basically why the Sea Lining Foundation began, right? Is to answer these two questions, right? Like, how do you, A, keep on working, you know, and B, how do you support yourself? Right, and it is a chicken or the egg thing because we earn money through our work. I was just gonna start by saying thank you for doing all of that work and that labor, and you know, I think all of you should be celebrated for doing that, for helping, you know, all of these immigrant artists. I also just want to kind of go back to, you know, how we define immigrants here. You know, I think immigrants, as defined, are basically people who move to another country to live, right? And so, although there are technical definitions of what an immigrant is, you know, as espoused by the USCIS, which is basically the Department of Homeland Security, you know, this country is founded on the idea that immigration is the spirit of it, you know. So when we say immigrants, we include everybody who's undocumented. We include everybody who is basically said to himself or herself or themselves, this is my country, this is where I want to live. So I just want to be clear about that, because I think sometimes we get into this technical definitions of like, well, they're not really, you know, they're not really immigrants, or they're not really, they don't deserve to be here, they're just visitors, right? Or they're just aliens, right? So a lot of the sort of like paradigm of undocumented immigrants, when we used to call them illegal aliens, false, that argument is no longer applicable, right? It is an argument that's based on this sort of punitive nativist philosophy that, you know, the present government espouses. Having said that, I want to go back to our panelists and actually talk about something. And before we do that, I want to ask each one of you, because this is like serious stuff, but I want to ask each one of you, what is giving you joy these days? And let's start with Kimie.
You know, it's my family, meaning I don't have blood family here, blood relatives here, but it's my chosen family. I really reconnected through, you know, before COVID, we were so busy, all of us. Like, you know, of course we had friends, but we didn't see each other at all. And since COVID hit, we have had time to reconnect. And Sea Lighting Foundation, we've gotten so close. Rodrigo Cha, it's like everyone. I mean, I see Dina here, Lily here, Mamoon, you know, they're my family, they're my chosen family, and it's been a joy to just get to know each other more, and we will really help each other all the way. So
thank you, Kimie. That's really great. Rodrigo, what's giving you joy these days?
I have to say, like, I will change a little bit the question, like what has given me joy through this all like pandemic time. And I will say that I found like my family, like my tribe in New York City, you know, like I can say like these days gives me so much joy waking up and having conversations with Cha and Kimie of like, how are we going to evolve? How are we going to be better? How we can help more people? And like, same as Kimie said, like seeing my friends, seeing my family out there. Like Lily, I also see you there, Lily. I miss you. and yeah, I will say that.
Thanks, Rodrigo. Cha, what's giving you joy?
You know what's giving me joy is the presence of so much love. Right now, I'm surrounded by nature. I'm surrounded with my partner's family, and it's just it just reminds me of what it's like to be part of a family, and it means so much to me. Yeah, it's joy, so much joy. It's hard because I've been living in Brooklyn alone with a dog, and now I feel like I'm part of something, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's all about belongingness. So yeah.
Yeah, and we've had a lot of time to do that during this time when we're not working, you know, just like, it's funny how like the social distancing actually created more deeper connections. Yeah. Hey, Lina.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good.
What's going on? What's giving you joy these days?
So I feel that right now it's also mirroring the other, like this, finding this family, but also having a bicycle to do that. and also being able to discover these neighborhoods around and becoming more familiar with these routes and the smells and the barbecue and someone's laundry and someone baking.
Yeah.
So this is an insight to other people's lives through that mode of transportation rather than the subway.
Yeah, no.
To reach our loved ones.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's like a village, you know, you're like in a village. So Lina, I'm going to start the question with you. Like, what has this meant for you, having gotten these, like, you know, these micro grants on a monthly basis? What has this, you know, what has this done for you? Like, what does this mean for you?
So, I mean, I'm from Lebanon, so the situation there is very bizarre. So something that is a financial burden has become even more and more difficult for family support to send money just because our government is pretty corrupt. And so it has been limited how much money they could send, to the point that they could only take out $300 per month for them. So they are not able to send money outside, and the currency dropped. So it has been a lot of hardship on that front, that being able to receive something like that is very humbling and very encapsulating. You know, you feel virtually and non-virtually hugged, but not because it's a financial thing that you're gonna be like, I'm gonna go out and spend it on shopping or whatnot, but more of, I'm gonna be able to pay rent for this month, and I'm gonna be able to pay my bills. And it's these little things that are very big costs, though you share the house with someone, or you share, you know, we all live in New York and the rents are high, and though things are hard to manage, this has been a very, I feel like inside a flower, and then I'm like hugged by those petals. And so it's always a surprise to receive it, to be honest. Also, it's a very beautiful surprise, because there are so many other people that are in our shoes, and who are designers, and also who are not designers, but also who are designers that we share the same hardship. So it's a humbling thing to be chosen, and to be able to, for Cha and Kimie and Rodrigo to actually get to a point so that they can be able to offer us these things in these bundles of joy, you know?
Yeah. And so, Kimie, so this is, how long do you think you can sustain giving these monthly grants to folks? And do you do other stuff? Like, do you help them like look for legal aid or anything like that? Like, so what is sort of the plan?
The plan, no, thank you for asking. We have been discussing recently, like looking to the future, like first of all, financially, you know, we just want to continue this as long as possible. As long as theater is out, we're committed to helping those who need it. And luckily, you know, through platforms like Wingspace and the articles that Playbill has done, or Token Theater Friends has done, we've also been on podcasts. More people just know about us, and more powerful institutions have been reaching out to us. So I do feel positive about the future, that we can keep sustaining this. And also, it's going to be hard, but we, you know, there might be months like August, we barely made it, you know. Cha, Rodrigo, we're not gonna lie, it was like really, we had people waiting, but we just kept sending those emails, kept sharing, kept calling people. It's the tenacity, I think, that we just have to continue. And then also, it's not just about the financial aid that we're giving. Like of course, I knew folks from NYU Tisch that were in the same situation as me, but now I know these almost 80 artists that are from all over the country, like on the West Coast, from Chicago, like everywhere. I would not have had any idea that there were so many of us. And also, there's probably just more that we don't know. And to be able to ask questions like, I actually need a roommate, you know, like, is there anyone there that needs a place? Or like, my lawyer is asking me this, what did your lawyer say? It's just to be able to ask these questions and have a very like frank answer, just not face to face literally, but you know, through from your peers has been amazing. Like making this community has been amazing.
Yeah, you touched on something that's really sort of, I think, worth mentioning. You know, there's this veil of secrecy, that's affiliated, or that comes with being an immigrant, right? Because you almost don't want to divulge what the process is. You know, there is the paradigm of legality also applies to your personhood, right? Like, so there is this idea that if you're not fully, quote unquote, legal here, that you don't have the right papers, that you are not complete, you know, that your personhood is not complete. So you will, I think, I speak this because I went through this. I think there is an immigrant psyche that I think that happens to folks, and hence I think people don't talk to each other about their, or even talk to each other truthfully about their immigration status. You know, there are a lot of undocumented artists who walk among us, you know, who've been here since they were like 2 or 3, but like they've never actually had the opportunity to sort of get their papers in line, you know. Rodrigo, can I ask you a question? So we know that there are 2 prongs of the problem, right? One is the financial one, which you guys are alleviating, this $500 micro grants monthly. And then there is the lapse in employment. And when I say lapse, folks, I think people need to understand that, again, you know, they cannot be without work or not working in their field for more than 60 days. Otherwise, that is a grounds for inadmissibility and removability. And those are 2 things, right? Being inadmissible is like when they go back, if they are deported, they cannot come back, right? And 2, removability, which is basically the deportation proceedings like that. So what solutions have you found and have you been suggesting to folks who, because our business is on pause right now, that keeps their the continuance of their practice, you know, with or without financial payments?
So do you want me to talk like about my personal experience or like what we've been trying to do?
What have you been? What are the creative ways that you've found, sort of, to make sure that your work doesn't lapse for more than 60 days?
I mean, like I said, like my OPT was ending like when COVID hit, and thankfully I was like part of like the movement theater, like the UN Tower like co-curators. I mean, I also had you've been helping me a lot. I'll just say, like, I don't know if it's even from the Sea Lighting Foundation or everything, but I've been lucky in that way. In my personal experience, I was able to keep on going my process of like keeping my status at the end of my OPT.
Yeah. And just to clarify, folks, when they say they keep their status, or when you know, when we say that there shouldn't be a lapse in employment, that includes like doing research for a designer, and that payment can happen later on, you know, doing anything within the field, you know. So it could be deferred work, it could be apprenticeships that have the payment processes don't have to follow a traditional payment process. You know, the most important thing is that they're literally doing their practice. It is continuing. Yeah. Cha, I have a question for you.
Yes.
What can you mention any other good resources for immigrant artists that are already not part of the Sea Lighting Foundation that they may avail of?
I think, of course, Wingspace is number 1. Number 2, we have the TDF also. And then number 3, we have the Actors Fund. And then there's also Tree Relief Fund, and also Artist Relief Fund.
Yeah.
So those are all the things that are like, in terms of they just differ in terms of like eligibility. But for me, for instance, I cannot with Actors Fund, since for instance I graduated 2017, and one of the criteria is that you have to prove to them that you've been working 5 years. And so I couldn't. But with Wingspace, I'm eligible. With Artist Relief Fund, I'm eligible. So those are the 2 grants that I've applied for. I've applied for so many, just so you know. But the 2 that I mentioned were the one that was like, I'm eligible, good to go. Yeah.
So that really means that, you know, I think folks, I think one of the things that we need to understand is that there are very few resources, right? Because of eligibility requirements, you know. And part of, I think what Kimie was mentioning earlier is that, you know, they don't have a vetting process, and this makes the net a little wider, you know. So for undocumented immigrants, you know, it's literally they can apply for this, you know, and because the contingency of permanent residency and citizenship does not apply. What can folks do to help you, you know, keep this great work going?
I think one of the things that we've learned so far in terms of the analytics of the website is that we've learned that all of the people who are donating to us are also our people, meaning our theater people. So, you know, every time we're having a Zoom meeting, we're like, how can we reach more people outside of theater industry? Meaning, if you have a friend from the film department, if you have a friend who's doing editing, you know, we want to reach those people who have extra, like extra $5, extra $10, because it's, I mean, we're all in the theater industry. We're all in the same boat. We know most of our shows have been postponed. And, you know, just to go back a little to what it means to keep your status or maintain your status. For me as a lighting designer, what it means is that, for instance, a senior lighting designer would hire me as an assistant. I can do drafting for that person. That will keep my status. I can do prep work, like whatever, doing inventory of the future show that this person will have. So that will make me keep my status. So yeah,
I mean, I think we really need help. Like NYU did not help us. You know, Yale should be helping us. Like people, we have so many artists that are from their programs, and it's just not. It's funny. I'm going to mention a newsletter again, but we couldn't even get on the NYU newsletter because it was an independent fundraiser. But so, you know, right now we're focusing again on trying to get the word out there. We reached out to, like I've written to Brian Lehrer, I've written to AOC, like I'm trying to like just get the word. I've written to any journalist I could find that is interested in the immigrant experience. You know, and I will keep doing that. It's like a weekly thing. I just keep following up. And I think when that one person finally responds and we get an article out there that's not Playbill, which, you know, Playbill we are so thankful for, but honestly, you know, only theater people really read Playbill. So it's that. Now we're trying to break that wall that we have, because the what is that English word? When you add something and you divide it, that number.
The average?
I know what you're trying to say.
The average, you mean?
The average, yes, thank you.
The average.
The average donation. I know, English, it's still, yeah, I speak it well, but it's
all good. It's all good.
All good, all good.
All
it's
good.
Yours is better than mine.
So the average donation amount is about $74 right now, and we have had about like 600 donations so far, which is amazing. But again, as Cha was saying, it's really from our community.
Yeah.
And it's the people who need that money too, we're so thankful, but we're taking from artists that also need it.
Right.
And that's our next step, like how
to go after bigger funders.
Yeah.
Let's unpack a little bit what you just, that little bomb that you dropped. Let's unpack this a little bit. Why do you think these, how do I phrase this without being too controversial? What Okay, Lina, I'm going to ask you this. What do you wish schools like NYU and Yale, what do you wish they did or they knew or were aware of the, you know, the student immigrant experience here in the United States, especially in the theater?
Well, I don't think that we go there and then leave and that's it. You know, it's not over. We're not done yet. Like there is a continuation. There is a responsibility of continuation, because as much as I don't know how to phrase this. Maybe the best, like a mother lets go of her child to go to school and something, she still asks about it, or and maintains that relationship to understand how is it going and to make sure to be able to hold them dear and make sure that they are not hurt by anything. And so I feel that a little bit tricked by the system, because I feel that there are so many words and things that are legal that I didn't understand when I first got here. And then now I'm understanding them, but because I'm a quote unquote victim of them, not because I got to understand them to avoid this, you know, like the things like the 60 days is a very hard thing to just accept on you, because you don't have, your hands are tied. So if our institutions are helping us understand what that means and facilitating with these little, even these little like Zoom meetings like that, then this counts for us, right? It's the small, tiny things. And so this continuity in the small, tiny things sustain us so much. So it doesn't have to be a big, but there are other big gestures that we can totally talk about, like lawyers and, you know, things like lawyers don't understand if this is a risk or not a risk is weird. It's like, what are you talking about? It's this, I feel that there is a responsibility that is let loose the moment you go away.
Yeah.
And it's a promise that is not kept at all, but also spoken as a promise, though it's not. It's a title that is given to a label that is given to something that is not true. So we find ourselves very lost. I mean, I find myself very lost. Even, I mean, something as small as taxes. People who are used to taxes and how to do their papers is something great for them, but I find it so difficult. It takes me, emotional and physical and a lot of energy just to and I do it wrong every time. I pay tax. I pay for the taxes every year because I do it wrong, you know. And Rodrigo, I think you had something to say. I feel like you were.
Yeah.
You wanted
ahead,
to jump
Rodrigo.
in.
No, I will just I will add, like, especially like institutions. I mean, I went to NYU, and during my whole studies at NYU, like there was never a class that helped us understand what we really were facing when we finished grad school. It was just like this bubble, and when they bring a guest, when they bring a tax person, when they bring like someone who made it in the industry, they were only citizens, you know. And when my international peers in my class, we were like, oh, what about like taxes for international students? Like Lina was mentioning, oh, I don't know about that. Oh, in the union. Oh, what about like if you are in RPT, but you want to join the union, but like what will affect if you are in an O1 later? Like, oh, we don't know about that. So there was like never really a support, like to really help us understand what was that. And I don't even think like them as an institution understand when they are accepting all of these international students, like what we have to go through. In my personal case, like I literally met Kimie at a party, and I was talking to her, and I said, oh my gosh, I need to do taxes. I don't know how to do this. And like, if it was not for Kimie, like I will be totally lost, because I asked someone in our department to bring Kimie to talk to us. So I just feel like they really, really, really need to include all of this situations as part of the curriculum as a class, or even I'm not saying like just like a class for immigrant students or like international students, but like have both sides of the story, you know, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it completely makes sense. Just zooming out a little bit, since all of us are from, you know, we all were born and raised in different countries. Like, what do you wish your training program actually told you? You know, yes, all of the legal stuff, the immigration stuff, you know, but what do you wish like your training programs told you about this country, about the business, about everything?
For me, I wish, oh, go.
No, go, Chan. Go, Chan.
Go ahead, Rodrigo.
No, you please, Chan. It's your Miss Universe moment.
It's my Miss Universe. I wish that I wish that we're talking this lightly, but you know, I didn't realize that it's gonna be a lot of mental stress, emotional stress once you become a foreigner to a country, and that I wish that when they open the doors, meaning to international students, they realize the responsibility when you accept students, meaning it's not just from, not everything should be American, what do you call this, reference, or not everything should be, yeah, everything should be welcomed. And that I wish that they told us we're gonna be fucked, you know, that this is not an easy job, that not only, yes, because I feel like, oh my God, I'm welcomed in this institution, but then once you get in there, you slowly realize that it's not meant for you, if that makes sense. That everything that we're doing in this institution is all pointed to the direction of what is the white American standard of theater. So that I wish was, you know, I wish that someone told me that, oh, you're gonna be welcome, but then once you enter the house, it's gonna be a different battle, because you have to learn everything by our rules, by our standards. And legal or no legal, taxes or without taxes, everything has to be this way. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Kimie.
Yes.
What do you wish they told you? You know, what do you wish they at least, you know, covered in terms of like preparing you for the business, preparing you for this country, preparing you for everything, you know?
I think, you know,
I mean, they took your money, so they should at least tell you something, right?
Yeah. It was always, you'll be fine. You know, I remember that. Oh, you'll be fine is what many, and yes, I am fine, but it took a lot. It took you know, taking out huge loans from my country because I couldn't take out any loans here, like getting a social security card, you know, like, I think I wish somebody just told me that you have to be like prepared. You have to, nobody's going to do it for you. And if you can't, like, I mean, in a way that this might be sidetracking, but I'm just like questioning graduate school in general right now, even like the whole elitist situation, how we're all invited, like as international students, we're invited and we are told that we are interested in you as a designer. But what they were interested was, again, like I think Cha said this, but shaping us, including us in the diversity kind of checkbox in a way. I just didn't feel like my background really mattered. Like what I would bring to the table didn't really matter that much, because when I wanted to do something very ingrained in the Japanese culture, it would be, well, what will the American audience think? We mean American, meaning basically the white audience, I think. So I'm kind of losing track of the question, but it's
Yeah, no, you're on track.
yeah, it's yeah, what do I wish they told me? I just wish they didn't lie. You know, I think it's like a lie, like you'll be fine, or like even the whole NYU really boasts its diversity, but when you look at it, international students should not be in the diverse checkbox. You know, where are the Black and brown students at NYU? Like the internet, it's just the it's inviting us, you know, like 60% of us are invited. They say 60% are international students right now. And but that's kind of it, you know. Why do they invite us when they're not really interested in where we come from? So it's not really what I wish someone would say to it's not really about what I wish somebody would have said to me. It's more about, if you are inviting us, then we are ready to come here, leave our family and friends behind. We are committed, and I just wish the same commitment from them.
Right. Right.
Folks, I'm inviting everyone to, how does this work, Edward? Do they put it on the chat? Like, what's happening?
Sure. People can use a raise hand feature or put something in the chat. We'll be monitoring it. But yeah, if there are any questions from the audience for the founders of the Sea Lighting Foundation, feel free to sort of jump in. I think it's a small-ish enough group that, yeah, we can trust people to do that. Or raise your hand and Clint and I will pick you. Yeah.
Yeah.
The raise hand feature is in the, if you click participants, you can raise hand. Also, I do just want to throw out something that Kimie mentioned before the meeting, which perhaps we worked into the beginning of the presentation, but anything that the Sea Lighting folks say is their own opinion. No one has any legal official expertise. I just wanted to like re-emphasize that for sort of liability purposes. Just want to like put that in the recording.
That's right.
Thank you so much.
None of us are immigration lawyers. If you really need immigration advice, we can send you to lawyers, but we, you know, so. Ziad has raised their hand.
Hey, this question is kind of for Lina, but I think applies to everyone. Lina, there's a huge news coverage of what happened in Lebanon. And I'm wondering, and I'm sorry if this is too hard to talk about, but what is it like to not be able to leave and be home when something like this happens? And I think this applies to everyone. Given the current situation, there's very little appetite or willingness to go visit home and come back, which usually is not an issue if we weren't under lockdown, then we had a normal administration. So maybe start with Lina if she's comfortable answering, and I'd love to hear what folks think about sort of being stuck here, even though home might not be here.
Hello. Yeah, it's kind of a conundrum. It's the want to be here and want to be able to be sustainable and to be self-sufficient and be able to find work, and in these dire conditions of COVID and our craft, and then something like things back home happening. It's a very, I don't know, it's a very weird equation to balance. It's not something, it's not only not being able to be home, it's also not feeling a scare of leaving here to actually lose the status that you have been trying to build. How do you weigh these things? It's a very hard thing to weigh, and as the days go, you realize you are making these decisions in spite of yourself, in spite of your grandparents growing older, or your parents growing older, or some explosion in Lebanon happening. You know, it's a very hard thing to weigh, and I feel that this is why I feel that something like Sea Lighting Foundation, I mean, I always think about the name because it does give me a light, you know, it forces me to see a light, because I'm having a weight that is a little bit balancing in order for me to be able to want to be here. So it's giving me this hope, and then at the same time, it builds a tension between what is actually home, what you call home, and then the other thing that you call home, you know, and how this is how what do you think, Kimie? What are you feeling
about home? About
this this, I mean, we are making these choices to be here, and how do you weigh them, and how do you...
The most honest answer is that I'm here because I'm just here, you know. It's like moving back home, and I can't even call it home. Like, my home is here now. Like, I've been away for 9 years from Japan. My town has changed. I don't recognize it anymore. The people have changed, and I don't. Yes, my parents are there, but it's not even about weighing the options for me. Like, going back to Japan is really just not an option, and it's not because I can't. It's again, I just don't feel like I belong there anymore.
Yeah. I just want to amplify what Georgia Lee just put in the chat, which is that what the institutions should admit is the fact that each international student pays 1.5 to 2 times more tuition paid than by citizens or permanent residents here. Mamoon, you raised your hand.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Mamoon. I graduated this year with Lina in class. I'm from Lebanon as well. And when I heard Lina speaking, I felt the call to speak as well, just to show another, like a similar perspective, a common. And it's funny times for us is to witness not only a loss in the start of our profession, but as well witness the loss of our plan B, which is home, which is like, I can always go back home and be safe. And it puts us in a place where you start questioning what is home. You start questioning what it means to live and to deliver and to share, and what kind of art you want to create and why do you do it. And I feel like the school didn't hold hands and nurture us to this moment. It's a catastrophe. It's happening on this planet. We don't hold shame against them because we feel like we acknowledge the situation that we're all in. Yet we exist in a place that you feel that you are not valued to exist. You are not valued and you're not helped to maintain and sustain your just existence. Like, we're not asking about anything here, just to be able to sleep on the bed, not having anxiety of paying the rent. And like Sea Lighting Foundation, for me, honestly, gave me hope in very dark times. It was really dark times. And I was on a verge where, like, witnessing what's happening in Lebanon, the revolution, even before the explosion, and like losing your money from a day to another. Like, the banks didn't give you money and you don't have money anymore. And now you're poor. Oh, okay. It's like, and you're in that situation where like you're losing hope, and you have people who just held you, who just were like, I see your light, I feel you, and I'm here. And just seeing and being and witnessing that, it just gives you more motives to just force yourself to be in a better place to help others. It's like in these darkest time, you can even just lift yourself up and help others. And I think now being here, I realized that what we're all talking about, just like creating this bigger community where we are all one, and we can all help each other, just by like just telling people about each other. It's that simple. And thank you.
Thank you, Mamoon. Thank you. Rio, you had your hand up. Did you have a question, or did you want to add something?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi y'all. Just wanted to add something in terms of talking about home and all of this, of how what it means to be here versus going home. There has been so far a lot of conversations I've had with even friends who are U.S. citizen, but the conversation always starts like, well, would going home be better for you? And that, to me, that sentence really hurts, even though it comes from a lovely space, you know, of well, maybe, for example, Thailand has not had any COVID cases for 100 days, right? So like technically better, technically. But then by doing so, what the hell am I gonna do back home? Because all of my connections are here after being here for 9 years. So I think that there's a lot of vocabulary that we also don't, that a lot of people uses, that they don't know that it does hurt. And I'm just asking, I hope that people who are watching this and would know that there will be times when there are things said, I think, that does hurt us a lot without you knowing, is all. Thank you.
Thank you for saying that, Rio, because I think it's a really big, it's a big thing, because, I think what folks don't understand is that immigrant justice is actually deeply, deeply tied to racial justice in this country. So I think this is something that is crucial to understand. I put the website for Define American down there, and they're an advocacy group for all immigrants, and I think one of the things when one of the sort of seemingly benign questions is like, why don't you just go home? It erases all of your decisions and the sacrifices that you as an immigrant has actually made to be in this country. So, it's not a question of ease, it's a question of dignity, you know what I mean? It's not about, sometimes I get this question too when because I'm a loudmouth and I agitate a lot of people, and I ask a lot of questions about like the union and all that kind of stuff. And then you get like, get people saying, why don't you just go home? It would be, if you hate this country so much, why don't you just go home? And that's not the point. It's like we claim the right to be here and critique this country at the same time, like you do, like people who were born here do. Anyway,
I'm just gonna add, because a lot of people also ask me, or like, it's coming from a place of love. Cha, why don't you just go home? It's easier in the Philippines. And I'm like, why don't you go home? It's easier in your home state. It's that kind of thing where it's like, I've already planned everything. Like, I want to be stable and all that as a freelance lighting designer. And the question is coming from a place of love, but it's literally like reversing the role. And I'm going to be like, why don't you go home? It's easier in your home state. It's that kind of thinking.
Thank you, Cha. What do you think, just going back to the Sea Lighting Foundation, what are the different levels of donations that one can do in terms of financial stuff. Like, can you tell us about the, you know, the plans, the little, like, you know, the levels of giving?
So the lowest donation we can receive is $5, and that's great. And then we have started a monthly donation campaign, which is very easy to, and you could also remove yourself from that on your own terms. It's very easy to do. It's on the website. And we have seen ranges from $15 a month to, you know, $500 a month, which covers a whole one person monthly. But it really varies. Some people have opted to do weekly donations, and that is a possibility too. And then of course the large donations we are also able to take from institutions and such that will go through Ars Nova, our fiscal sponsor. But all donations below that 5K line is non-tax deductible. So it is a personal gift to the artists. Like, after much research, we opted to go for not-for-profit, because then it would be counted as income for the artists receiving the funds, and it created further complications. So all donations are considered to be personal gifts.
Thank you for saying that, Kimie. Also, from the donations, is that where you guys get your where you folks get your operating expenses, and do you what are your books open for people who want to see it?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We have a plan to make it more transparent. There are some anonymous donors, of course, who will be kept anonymous, but there is a plan working in the next month or so that people will have access to see, you know, how much we're getting, where we're getting it from, and who it's going to. And there are also some artists who opted to be anonymous, so they will, of course, be kept anonymous. But, you know, we want to be clear that all the money is accounted for. And operating expenses, it's interesting. We actually don't take any operating expenses from the donations. It's really like the website. You know, it's Squarespace. It's $238 ish. Some of my dear friends paid for that. You know, it's like we don't take any of that from the donations. 100% everything goes to the artist. Yeah, oh, I'm sorry, except for, of course, credit card fees. If you pay through credit card, that will be taken.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Cha.
Sorry, in terms of operations, also Rodrigo is behind the scenes for the social media, and Kimie is did the website, and for me, I'm just a mascot. I'm just like, hey, how's it going? That's right, we're helping people, that's it. But seriously, this has been so good, because I feel like now I'm learning that this is like, see, our community has become the MFA for real talk in life. You know, it's like we have become each other's sisters and brothers through this pandemic. Because if you know, if I can share with you the Gmail of Sea Lighting Foundation, or like the people who are directly messaging us on Instagram, we really want to help more people. We have 11 on the wait list that, you know, we're really working hard to be able to get them this $500. And you know, if some of the registered artists also who have gone back home, and they're like, Cha, Kimie, and Rodrigo, thank you so much, I'm dropping out from the list, then that's the only time one artist in the wait list goes to the monthly donation. And honestly, we want to help everyone, but right now it's just so hard. Like, August, we almost didn't make it. That's why Lena got surprised with the money, because it's like, it's that kind of fundraising where it's like, we got the money, send it right away, so yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you, folks. I think we're out of time, right, Edward? Or
yeah. So this is amazing information. I'm so humbled to be listening to this panel. We are going to keep the Zoom open for another half hour, but we are going to wrap up the official portion of this right now. We want to be conscious of the time of our panelists and you all in Zoom fatigue. And people who have to do childcare, etc. So I'm just going to read a couple of closing announcements. I really want to thank all of our panelists for joining us this evening. Amazing group, and thank you for the questions from the group and those who are joining us through Facebook Live as well as here in Zoom. I want to give a shout out to the people on the Wingspace Salons Committee, Adrian Jones, who's been running support this whole time, Kate Freer, Christine Mock, Elizabeth Mack, Luke Cantrella. They all help bring these to you every other week. I want to give a little plug for some upcoming salons. We're hoping to get in at some point later this month, the Be an Arts Hero organization. They have blown up, as some of you have seen in the news, etc. But we're hoping to get them in at some point this month. We're trying to work out which Thursday night. Next month, on October 10th, we're confirmed. We're going to have a conversation with 3 dramaturgs, Eric Glover, Sean Mays, and Paula Seniors on early Black authored anti-racist musicals. That'll be hosted by Tamila Woodard, Wingspace member. For all things, currently our website, I think, is mostly just one page. It's under construction, but go to wingspace.com, which Adrian will probably put in the chat. You can find out about our ongoing mentorship program, our upcoming membership drive, different from mentorship, and upcoming salons. And with that, I will say that, I'm giving any of the panelists the opportunity to leave. This is sort of the official end, but we're here and we'll be monitoring the Zoom. If people want to converse, or if people want to go away, then you should go away. But thank you so very much, the Sea Lighting Foundation, for coming here and sharing what the amazing stuff they've been doing with us. And thank you very much, Clint, for moderating the conversation with them. Thank you.